I'm going to be sharing about narcissistic tendencies today, and I'm tying it in with yesterday's video, which is about fear of commitment. So I want to say that we're all born with childish, tendencies, which means as a child it makes sense, but childish means as we get older, we should not be acting like a child. So what is the fundamental trait of a child is codependency. To not be able to survive on one's own in terms of needing food, clothes, maybe some education and shelter from the parents, water, protection, right? So it's like when someone is narcissistic, they're actually living from the outside in. So this is somebody who is actually living powerlessly, because they are not living from the inside out. They're living like the way a child is looking outside for the food, for the clothes, for the shelter. But really, why? To make sure that I'm safe and that my needs are met. So when we heal this, we commit to ourself, we commit to the life as it is, and that no one and nothing is the power like my inner self. So now I'm going to go through all different elements of this. First of all, I'm going to kind of just talk about what are some ways it shows up. And in this way, don't take it personally about yourself. Just recognize when it shows up for you. So we know that there are pillars called of wellness, which include safety, security, love, and approval. And we should get this from our parents as we're children. And eventually we should be able to give it to ourselves. We should surround ourselves with people who meet the standards for safety, security, approval, and love. But in some ways, we can embody the traits that were normalized in our home. And often that includes being in a state of adrenal fatigue, a stress. There's a mental breakdown. I don't mean someone has a literal breakdown, but there is an idea that the breakdown doesn't happen overnight. Slowly, the mentality is breaking down from the untreated solidness. In other words, something keeps getting triggered nonstop, constantly. There's this unconscious seeking for something, and it can cause to be constantly on guard. Like, am I going to get it? Is it going to be taken? When there's not enough, even if it's love or approval or safety or security. Additionally, if we don't feel like we could take care of ourselves, the child sometimes leaves the mess for others. Think about when an adult leaves the mess entitledly for other people to take care of, whether it's physically or emotionally, causes issues and then just leaving it worse and dirty for someone else, whoever the next person might be. But when we have the family of origin, when we look at our families of origin, the programming that brought us into future relationships, which are past relationships at this moment, as I'm assuming you've been in relationships with anyone, teachers, other coworkers, classmates, and so on, in your life, we are slowly maturing and not needing to be as ego-based, not needing to live as much from the outside in this, I need, when a kid is crying and screaming for something, most of us have the sense that we'll be okay, we don't need to go there. And yet there are times where we feel we won't be okay, we do need to go there. But how often does that happen? And how often do we enter relationships in order to exploit, to empty the energy, to mine what's available, to get what's free, to get resources and emotions? Emotions could be happiness. We might come in, I want you to make me feel happy. Like, the way a kid might go to daycare and they're going to make them feel happy. It can suck the other people dry from the will to live, because living in a world where people are capitalizing on others who may be overachievers or offer so much ends up hurting the people who don't feel security, safety, love, and approval. And these are people who might ignore the warning signs because of how draining it is to keep trying, and it doesn't deeply satisfy or connect. The other one, the one who's looking to be blameless, we think of a child who has chocolate on their face and says, I didn't do it. That's one level. Then that we might call overt narcissism, somebody who's overtly childish. Then we have the next layer, which is like they quickly hide it. They clean off their face and they say, I didn't do it. This is someone who makes external efforts to look blameless, but doesn't quite make the connection that they've just lost their integrity. They're going to lose self-respect. They're not going to feel secure, and they're going to wait for someone to be doing this to them. This includes all different kinds of things. When you're helping, but you're being fake, you're fake helping. When you withhold from someone, when when you pretend to care, or when you give just enough to show, but you don't actually care. These are all things that the child knows is going to happen to them. And they're going to actually expect others to be doing that. They're not going to trust people. So this is when I say it could suck the person dry from the will to live. And it's really, a capitalizing. Now, how do people get away with this? People have to pretend they have what they need, so that when they come in, like looking and ready to grab, people are going to be on guard. So they have to come in pretending they have what they need. So here we see the inside does not match the outside. The outside is still, the inside is depending on the outside. Do I look like I could get what I need and get away with it? Kind of like we would say like some snakes that look cute, but they're actually super poisonous. Or these little spiders, you say, oh, they're so small, but they're extremely venomous. So what happens? We start to recognize this person is hiding in plain sight. It's like when you see those videos of someone painted their body makeup to match the curtains, and they're right there. They close their eyes and close their mouth. You can't see the eyes and the mouth, the teeth, but they're there. In the video, you could see kind of, because you know where they're waiting, but the person could walk in and out unless they're on guard. So this person is right there. You don't know who it is, but you could be feeling drained. You could be feeling like you don't trust people just from these interactions, because it's like you're dealing with an adult child. That's when, I'm sure you've heard that, adult child. So the only way to heal is to recognize they did not wound us. They are messengers from our wound. I mentioned yesterday, fear of commitment has many different, mainly two core wounds, I would say, is trust and credit and power struggle. But really, it's all about not being able to be vulnerable, not being able to trust, and kind of living in that fear that punishment, or that we have to pretend on the outside to be a certain way. So this is really where it gets, we have to battle kind of for the soul to be able to be human, and to be able to be divine, and to be able to be somewhere in the middle of I don't know and I know, and this someone who could break down, but also could stand on 2 feet, not to be like stuck and, oh, you're not you're not secure, so there's no use for you. We would say a child throws away a toy, picks it up. An adult who's acting that way with people, we would say is narcissistic. Eventually, we have to care and soothe ourselves, which gives us immunity to these kind of people. So we would say, inside, I don't like being treated this way. Like, I don't even exist. Like, my needs don't matter. Like, everything I do is not enough, or they're always complaining. This person seems very childish and entitled. And we would say it to ourselves, for ourselves. That would be natural. We would say, and if we would say, like, I really am trying to get this person to like me, we would say, oh, this reminds me of when I was bullied in school. God forbid, right? And, I'm redoing some of that. I'm, and this is my chance to heal. We could even, like, own it. This is my chance to, to just have my soul and not try to, like, be the person they want me to be in order for them to get what they want out of me. And this is like the predator idea, that somebody is preying on our doubts, our confusion over our wants and needs. If we don't feel comfortable with our wants and needs, if we were never allowed to have wants and needs. So a wounded child ends up with an adult child, because that's our blind spot. This could look like someone who showing up doesn't bring empathy, care, or concern, and they twist everything, and there's a fog. So it literally could feel like they don't allow us to be different. They disagree with our ouch, invalidates, minimizes, never takes accountability, uses threats, either stated or implied, takes control and wears the person down, even will interfere with eating and sleeping. So this sounds like a little kid who wakes you up whenever they want you, who stops your meal whenever they want you, is not going to say it's okay for you to do that and me to do that. No, everything has to be blue. They're in charge. They go, mom, 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 mom. Cannot say they made a mistake, because they might get in trouble. So obviously, with conscious parenting, you can kind of work with your kids where they don't act like this. Or if you say, "Oh, that really hurt," they say, "No, it didn't, no." A parent who allows a kid to make mistakes, eventually the kid will say, "I'm sorry, I didn't mean to do it." And that's a kid who's not living from their ego because they're not afraid they're going to lose love, safety, security, approval. And so a kid who doesn't have empathy is a kid who's raised in a more survivalistic environment. And there's like a fog, there's a confusion there, and things are twisted so that you can't really quite point a finger at them. And you might want to blame yourself first. This sounds like a kid. "No, you did it first. No, I hate you. You're always mean to me." But if an adult is behaving this way, they may not say these things outright, but that's their demeanor. So they created like this fragile, never wrong, never happy self. They will defend that self because that's what they know. And at any moment, if they stop doing it, they will lose in this child that never grew up programming love, safety, approval, and security. It's like this insatiable construct. We would say inner demons, right? We all have our inner demons. This is a person whose inner demons are running the show. So they're not a child anymore, right? They should be able to come from the inside out. They shouldn't be so worried about how everyone's always seeing them. They should know what their wants and needs are. They should know, how to engage from the inner self in the right to be oneself. And, but someone who's in a narcissist phase or state or moment will want us to be disconnected and feel unsafe so they could act like the savior. What does that mean? That means this person feels they have nothing to offer, but they need something from us. So they may upset the situation so they could be helpful. Like a kid who makes a mess and then smiling at you while they're cleaning. As a kid, it might be cute, even if it's a little annoying. But as an adult, it's kind of like, you're the one causing the problems. I don't want your help, right? So, and that's the fog. It's like, what's going on? You're helping me? You're not? They want us to be dependent because that's where they're at. And then that's how they know how to relate. The parents of a narcissistic kid were usually narcissistic. It could happen in a relationship, but usually this kid grew up in an environment where, they were exploited and where they were not allowed to have feelings, wants, or needs. And so they're comfortable in this drama. They love to incite and blame. And so it's like provoking you and then they make you sound crazy. That's what they grew up with. Like there was somebody doing that to them or one person doing it to the other in front of them. And so in other words, provoking as an excuse to be able to attack. It's like, I'm in a bad mood. Like a kid who's very cranky, didn't take a nap. They come up to you and they like cause a situation so that you punish them. They misbehaved. And now they're so angry. Now they have a right to be bad, like bad, quote unquote. With healthy parenting, we don't need to tell kids, we could say your behavior is bad, but you're not bad. So then they project our emotions. Like a kid says, "You hate me." But when an adult says, like, "You really don't respect me, you're always this or that," it may sound like they have a point if we're insecure about, or we don't love certain parts of ourselves, or we were taught not to. So as we heal these things, we cannot be used in these patterns. They are not living from the soul, that inner being, that one that's sensitive really to everything. And but a narcissist, you'll see that when they're not really helping you, because a lot of people talk about how in the beginning they really are saving the day. They fix everything. They want to be so valuable. They're making that connection. This is really the needs they didn't get met. They're not so conscious about what they're doing, but they are an adult. So it is dangerous psychologically. This is a adult psychology. So to have someone who appears as a lover who is intent on hurting us, it's dangerous. It is very dangerous. Or they indirectly keep us hurting ourselves so that they can keep us rushed or on the outside of solutions or feel needy. And they really have no concern because of their manipulations. We regress to these wounds during our triggers because violating us will cause us to grow more unhealthy. It's like this, what we call antisocial. It's not social. It's not co-regulating. It's since it makes me feel worse at being healthy, which is what could have allowed me to actually love and trust and choose real love, they're not interested in being really known on the inside, because that's the part of them they feel is unlovable. They don't feel secure in, they don't feel safe to be, they don't approve of that self. So this is a person who is living from the outside in. So a child is a developing self. An adult narcissist is a childish, undeveloped self. So they will often cause, with their patterns that are just so unhealthy, the one who's in a relationship to not be able to develop, versus that true inner source connection where we don't go through the trauma in the relating. True adults can have conversations about change, inside and outside change, and together change. And what we teach is what we most need to heal in ourselves. So if a person is we can't heal when we're holding on to something. There's this thing of a plant. It's a plant that eats flies, and I think it's called a Venus flytrap. It closes when there's a little soft trigger spot, but it closed on a cayenne pepper, and it wouldn't let go, and eventually it died, and it turned all black. So we have to be responsible for our wholeness from the inside, not holding on to that cayenne pepper that's hurting us. That's a great analogy. So, often a good sign for knowing whether or not we are needing to heal ourselves is to see whether we're living in our own soul, whether we might be telling everyone they need to work on, like, you're this, you're that. Often it's not necessary. We trust that people will work on themselves. It's what we need to do to take care of ourselves. So really it causes humility and honesty to be a good teacher. The narcissistic, undeveloped adult child is bringing out the part of us that needs to nurture our own inner child, right? The people we love and choose match our inner code. There's a mutual attraction. So here we have this undeveloped part of our inner child with a complete outside of them undeveloped inner child and undeveloped outer child. And this is all, this is 9 times out of 10 or 90% subconscious. So we need to actually make it conscious. How do we do that? By self-partnering, being a companion with ourselves. How do we want to be with someone who yells at us, screams at us, argues with us? Or do we want to be with someone who talks nicely to ourselves? And so they don't want to, they'll lose everything to maintain this protection of their self. But we could look, I'm the generative source for my inner experience, and I have the power to change myself and my life. Peace starts from within when I'm willing to meet my own needs and matter to myself, and value myself, and listen to myself, and emotionally support myself, and desire to give my resources to myself, and believe in myself. And we have to believe in something fundamental here. When we feel healthy, we can recognize what's unhealthy. And when someone is refusing to become healthy, either because they don't have the tools or they don't believe in themselves, they do the opposite of a womb. A womb, a uterus, literally, has supportive lining that causes whatever's inside of it to grow and germinate. And for an environment like that, in a relationship where we feel that we can mature and be loved and feel secure and safe and get approval for who we are, that is the indicator that we're growing. We are developing. At every age, every day we develop. If we don't have that, we're going to feel like we're not allowed to develop. The other person is literally sabotaging our growth. And so we have to give ourselves directly versus through this adult child. So we don't need to heal ourselves through another person. And just, thinking of it, I'm speaking obviously from my experience. I remember a therapist telling me, well, narcissists have narcissist children. I'm thinking of my parents. So I had to heal a lot of this too. And I would like to say that my inner self knew that it wanted me. It didn't want, all the men that I was with, nothing else. It didn't want the food. It didn't want the weed. It didn't even want, somebody to pretend to be like a father or like a savior or a leader. I remember this man, he's in my life still in certain ways, like I still know who he is and we have what to do with each other. But when I first met him, there was this very charged, and I felt I couldn't necessarily grow. And his name is Michael. And he's made tons of progress in developing himself. And so I could say that it is true, even though some people say that there's no way to for anyone to heal narcissism, I would say that I've witnessed in myself and in him narcissistic traits and tendencies being healed. And I will say one more thing, that a good warning sign that we're forced to, a good warning sign that this is a relationship that is not allowing us to grow into ourselves and is not healthy, is that we are forced to keep agreements of submissions that we did not give. So we are expected to submit, and we didn't submit. We're just expected to. And there's agreements that we did not make, but we're expected to agree. So I will stop here and wish you a healthy, growth-oriented day and life, and to take accountability for where you might be behaving in a narcissistic way. Each one, healing from the inside out. We will create an environment where everybody is motivated for whatever reason to become healthy and from the inner being, in showing up in the world that we all share.